Hey, good morning, Brandy. We got word here just at about 8:45 that there was a body found on Horn Island, and the officials are now working on bringing that back. Now, as of right now, we do not have an identity of the body that was found.
We just want to know. We just want to know what happened. I want our baby to come home. Like that's our biggest thing. And we are so grateful to everyone, family, friends, classmates, United Cajun Navy, everybody that's assisted us. We appreciate you. There's not enough thank yous that we could say or give to you. But I just, we just want to know. We want an honest, thorough investigation. That's all we're asking for.
We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home. Those were Christine Wansley's words, standing in Harlem, more than 1,000 miles from the Mississippi island where her son disappeared. Beside her stood civil rights attorney Ben Crump and the Reverend Al Sharpton. This is the story of a family who packed up their grief and carried it to New York City because they didn't believe the answers were coming fast enough at home. Welcome to Crime Beyond the Shadows. If you've followed this case with us before, you know the basics. Today we're going deeper into the people fighting to keep this case from going quiet. Nolan Wells' parents, the judge whose son was on that boat, and the advocates who've turned a local tragedy into a national conversation. 18-year-old Nolan Wells went missing after a July 4th boat trip to Horn Island, Mississippi, and was found dead 2 days later. The sheriff's department believes he may have drowned. His parents don't accept that, and they've said so on national television, in New York, and in their own words on Facebook. Wells, a wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, joined a group of friends, mostly people he'd known since high school, on a boat trip to Horn Island on July 4th. He was last seen around 3 p.m. His friends left the island around 4:30, saying Wells chose to stay behind, planning to return later with someone else. He never did. His mother reported him missing that night. 2 days later, on July 6th, a National Park Service ranger recovered his body off the northwest tip of the island. He was identified through dental records. That's the outline. Everything that happened next is really about the people refusing to let that outline be the final word. The night before the trip, Wells came to his parents' house, cooked them baked salmon for dinner, and hugged his mother goodbye. Christine and Elmore Wansley have described their son, in the days since, as a peacemaker.
As you know, I'm Christine Wansley. I am Nolan Wells' mom. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another. He loved life, and God gave him this big heart, which always scared us. Me and his dad had conversations with him all the time, not just about the importance of understanding our history as Black people, but also the importance of how you have to move in certain spaces.
Elmore Wansley has said his son didn't like confrontation, didn't like division, and wanted everyone included. When investigators first told the Wansleys their son's death was most likely an accidental drowning, Christine has said that explanation made them deeply uncomfortable, so the family launched their own private investigation alongside the official one. They've questioned why Wells would leave the group he was raised to stay with. They've questioned why his phone and car keys were left on the boat rather than with him. At the Harlem press conference on July 10th, Elmore Wansley spoke about the son he raised.
Nolan is a person with a big heart. He's loved by not just his family, but the community. He's a born people person. he really developed a bond with his baby brother because both of them played the same position. So he was really understanding the business side of the sport, which is football, and understand that it's not just a game you play. So the stuff that I was telling him, it was kind of starting to sink into him, and he was really getting more depth into it. And I could see as he did that, his baby brother really started getting more into it as well, as far as being more focused, because he saw, well, if my big brother is about to go do this great thing, then I want to do this great thing, but I want to do it better. That's why that's what made them so like vinegar and oil. It was like they was always at each other, but they were the same. When I look at my youngest, I'll say Nolan, or when I look at Nolan, I'll say my youngest name. So they would train together. I would always say, hey, do some push-ups, you want to run some routes. And they know when I say it, next day they're out there running routes. Even my other son, he'll go out there. He doesn't play their position, but he would go out there and work and exercise and work out because they were understanding what I was talking about. They were growing, they were becoming men. So this was his time. He would always talk to me. I would always give him my advice about stuff. I always try to tell him what to look for. And I was always telling myself, son, I'm giving you this advice. And I'm telling you this stuff, but you're going to have to experience this. But when you experience it, it won't be foreign to you. You'll have some kind of idea of how to navigate through it. And I think me and his mother, I think he did a great job with that. That's why it's so hard for me to believe that he would choose to stay on the island. It just wasn't his character. It was his character. So Nolan is the funniest kid in our family. Speaking of the time she was talking about, we were having a kind of heated moment, and I don't know if you guys remember the dance called Stanky Leg. I think my son created it because we were sitting in that closet looking and just like talking. He literally came to the closet door and peeked around and stood in front of him and just started doing this little crazy dance. And I was like, we just bust out like whatever we was talking about, we stopped laughing, then we called him to us and we just hugged and laughed and played. But then maybe 6 months later, something hit. But we always said he created the Stanky Leg dance. But that's my greatest memory of my son.
Other children,
my son Ethan, he's hurting. These are the ones these are the younger ones. He's like, Dad, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, son, you gotta keep going because he would want you to be better. His youngest brother Elmore, the one that really worked out with him, he was like, I'm hurting, Dad, but I said, Nolan wants you to be the best he can be. He would want you to outdo him. And whenever you feel like you're in a bind or having some kind of problem, call on your brother, talk to your brother. My twins, the loss of a younger sibling is hurting them. They have to figure out how to navigate through life without them. And my daughter Carly, with her being away, it's really hard for her because she's not around family now. So she's out on, doing life like this. But she's doing it on her own, so she has to do this by herself. We're here, by phone, but we're not there in person. So she really has to draw on the people that surround her when she's not home. So all together, our family, this is gonna be our new norm. He was the jester in my court.
Christine Wansley thanked the community, the volunteer search group United Cajun Navy, and everyone who'd reached out with support, before saying plainly that she hoped any parent in her position would do exactly what she's doing, ask for help, and keep asking until there are real answers. She's also said she and her husband had talked with Nolan often about understanding Black history, and about, in her words, how you have to move in certain spaces, a detail that speaks to the broader context. This family says they can't separate from their son's death, even without a confirmed explanation for what happened. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, known for his work on the Breonna Taylor and George Floyd cases, was retained by the Wells family days after the discovery of Nolan's body. Crump has been the family's most public voice, laying out, point by point, what he says doesn't add up. He's pointed to a video.
Everybody, you can put down wherever you fucking retard. Bro, how am I gonna get you back home? You don't think I'm gonna be worried? Hey, your mom's gonna be worried about you. I think that's why. By looking at you. Bro, you have a fucking life jacket on, Marquise.
I'll just wait.
Bro, you have a life jacket.
No, I'm black. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna say.
Oh, yes, it does.
Bro, I'll just find a way. Yeah, anything about the jacket, but I can't.
Bro, you have a life jacket.
I'm gonna die.
I'm standing right now.
I'm talking like, hold on.
Hammer right here if you want.
Yeah, I might drown.
You won't drown.
I'm trying to get over there.
You're not gonna drown. I promise you won't drown.
There you go. What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Marquis.
Taken from a boat in which a male voice can reportedly be heard saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you doing?" A voice Crump's team believes belongs to Wells. He's noted that a witness account has Wells planning to leave the island with his friends, directly contradicting the sheriff's understanding that Wells chose to stay behind. And, in an interview with Don Lemon, Crump said officials still hadn't told the family whether they suspect foul play at all, one way or the other. Crump has been careful, publicly, to frame this as a demand for thoroughness, not an accusation. He said his legal team currently holds Wells' phone for their own review and will turn it over to Mississippi investigators once they're finished. He's also said his team hadn't yet reached out to the friends who were on the boat, since those young men have retained their own attorneys, though he said outreach was coming. Crump has also placed this case inside Mississippi's broader history, pointing to the state's legacy of racial violence as the backdrop for why the family wants extra scrutiny applied here, not less. Reverend Al Sharpton opened the Harlem press conference bluntly. What we've been told does not make sense.
He was one black with three young white men who happened to end up with his phone, happened to end up with his keys. Then there's just too many questions that they should not be closing the investigation. Now, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little different than some of y'all. I was built different. My nose is out here, my eyes are here, my brain is here, which means some things I could smell before I could see and before I can figure out. This does not smell right. So some people are saying, Reverend, are y'all bringing in race? Well, we're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either, because we don't know what it is. So to tell us don't rush to judgment saying it was racist is fine. But then I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know. We do know what these parents are being told, and what the parents have now shared with us does not make sense.
Sharpton has said the family isn't trying to force a racial narrative onto the case, but isn't ruling race out either, given how few concrete answers currently exist. He's also said that whenever funeral arrangements are finalized, the goal will be to seek unity and to, in his words, extol what this young man represented. Filmmaker Spike Lee has appeared alongside the family as well, showing his support without taking a formal speaking role. Away from the New York press conferences, one of the most striking public statements in this case came from much closer to home. Ashley Cole, a sitting Jackson County Chancery Court judge, is the mother of one of the friends who was on the boat with Wells that day. Cole posted directly to Facebook, saying she feared for the safety of her 6 children after their photographs were circulated online without her consent. In that post, Cole confirmed her son, Warren, has been interviewed by the sheriff's office and has cooperated fully. She wrote that Warren told investigators he last saw Wells around 3 p.m. and that the group left around 4:30 after the boat began taking on water because of an issue with the bilge pump. According to Cole, Wells made the decision himself to stay on the island and return later with another group. Cole said her family isn't trying, in any way, to obstruct the investigation, and noted that she and Christine Wansley graduated from the same high school. Reverend Al Sharpton opened the Harlem press conference bluntly. "What we've been told does not make sense." Sharpton has said the family isn't trying to force a racial narrative onto the case, but isn't ruling race out either, given how few concrete answers currently exist. He's also said that whenever funeral arrangements are finalized, the goal will be to seek unity and to, in his words, extol what this young man represented. Filmmaker Spike Lee has appeared alongside the family as well, showing his support without taking a formal speaking role. Away from the New York press conferences, one of the most striking public statements in this case came from much closer to home. Ashley Cole, a sitting Jackson County Chancery Court judge, is the mother of one of the friends who was on the boat with Wells that day. Cole posted directly to Facebook, saying she feared for the safety of her 6 children after their photographs were circulated online without her consent. Back in Ocean Springs, grief spilled into public demonstration. Wells's own childhood friends organized a small protest in his hometown.
But I come here to tell everybody that is going to take all of us. Because in Mississippi throughout history, we've seen so many things get crushed and swept underneath the rug. But I want everybody here to know that it will take every voice, black, white, Chinese, it doesn't matter, it's going to take all of us. Because for so many years, and I know a lot of people are saying it's not a race thing, and don't say it's a race thing, but it's very so much true and important that race has played an important role in American history. And so
Christine Wansley addressed it directly and publicly, asking anyone moved to demonstrate to stay peaceful. Nolan was not someone who liked fights, she said. Physical fights. He didn't even really like arguments. Don't go out there trying to be tough. Think about what Nolan would want, and he wouldn't want that type of behavior. That appeal, from a grieving mother asking a movement built around her son's memory to stay gentle, has become one of the more quietly powerful details in a case otherwise defined by conflict and unanswered questions. As of this recording, the Mississippi State Conference NACA has publicly demanded, in their words, urgency and absolute transparency in the investigation, citing what they call deeply concerning contradictions in the initial accounts. A GoFundMe organized to help with funeral and memorial costs has raised over $230,000. Sheriff John Ledbetter maintains that his office is treating this case like any other, and has said his team remains resolved to find the truth. But the official cause of death still hasn't been released, from either the state's completed autopsy or the independent one the family commissioned. No charges have been filed. No one has been named a suspect. And the central contradiction Crump has raised, whether Wells chose to stay behind or intended to leave with his friends, remains unresolved. What connects every person who's spoken publicly, in this case, the parents, the judge, the attorney, the minister, is the same demand, not a predetermined conclusion, just the whole truth, however it turns out. Christine Wansley said it herself, standing in front of cameras 1,000 miles from home. They just want to know what happened, and why their baby didn't come home. If there are updates as the autopsy results are released, we'll bring them to you the moment they're confirmed. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see that update first. This has been Crime Beyond the Shadows.